It's winter 1950, in the middle of the Korean War. UN forces prepare for the Home by Christmas offensive, and the aim is to advance to the Chinese border and unite the Korean peninsula under the South Korean government. The tide of communism will have been pushed back, and the troops can go home as heroes and enjoy Christmas with their families. The US 10th Corps, the troops that performed the amphibious landing at Incheon, performed another amphibious attack on the port of Wonsan on the east coast of Korea. They then advanced north and passed the port of Hungnam. From here, any advance further to push to the Chinese border would have to go through narrow, mountainous passes. The path chosen by US 10th Corps was to advance to the Jangjin Lake, around 60 kilometers north of Hungnam and 120 kilometers from the Chinese border. From their march north, MacArthur planned to move west to Kanghae and outflank the North Korean and Chinese People's Volunteer Army forces facing the US 8th Army to the west. However, Communist China was amassing around 350,000 troops to push the UN forces back. Much like their American counterparts, the Chinese were confident. Though they knew that the Americans had superior firepower and aircraft, the perception was that the men themselves were weak and would falter in hand-to-hand combat. Seeing the US 10th Corps move north, the overall head of the PVA in Korea, General Peng De-hwai, sent the PVA 9th Army stationed in Manchuria to destroy them. Though the 9th Army didn't have the right clothes or equipment to fight to their full potential, destroying the US 10th Corps was too good a target to miss. It would mean the dissolution of almost half of the UN forces in Korea. The Jangjin Lake is not called Jangjin in English. The battle rather has another name, the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir. During the Japanese colonization of Korea, a dam was constructed to power the local industry, creating a large reservoir. The Japanese pronounced the name of the lake as Chosin, which was subsequently passed on to the Americans. This advance towards the Jangjin or Chosin Reservoir was not missed by the Chinese. The lake was surrounded by mountains on all sides, with only narrow passes to withdraw. Blocking these exits would create a killing field where the communist forces could completely destroy the Americans. Not all of the US 10th Corps were around the Jangjin Reservoir and were spread out across northeast Korea. They hoped that this attack would draw in troops and concentrate them so that they could be decisively defeated. Both sides were right to be confident, and both were wrong to underestimate their enemy. This was to be no ordinary matchup. The Chinese 9th Army Group was led by one of the founding generals of the People's Republic of China and the god of guerrilla warfare, Song Shilun. Their troops were also veterans of the Chinese Civil War. On the other side, the 1st Marine Division of US 10th Corps had participated in the landings at Guadalcanal, the 7th Infantry Division at Okinawa during the Pacific War. They also had support from the Royal Marines and elements of the South Korean Army. They had aircraft stationed at Yonpo Airfield near Hungnam and on the carriers of US Task Force 77. Through November 1950, units of the US 10th Corps advanced through the narrow pass that led to the lake, past the villages of Chinung, Koto, Hagaru, Chinung and Yundam, setting up garrisons along the way. American troops enjoyed a hearty Thanksgiving meal before what they thought would be the end of the war. However, 120,000 PVA soldiers were preparing to attack and to destroy the UN troops. 4 days later, on the night of the 27th of November 1950, the 20th and 27th Army of the Chinese PVA launched their first strike by cutting off the withdrawal route between Hagaru village and Koto village. The PVA 58th Division of the 20th Army attacked the 1st Marine Division at Hagaru village, and the PVA 60th Division of the 20th Army attacked the 1st Marines at Koto village. At Yundam village, the PVA 79th Division of the 27th Army and the 89th Division of the 20th Army attacked the 5th, 7th and 11th Marine Regiments, while the PVA 59th Division of the 20th Army cut off the road between Yundam village and Hagaru village by attacking Fox Company of the 7th Marines at Sinung village. On the eastern side of the reservoir, Regimental Combat Team 31, also known as Task Force Faith or McLean, was isolated by PVA 80th and 81st Divisions of this 27th Army. By the next day, the UN forces had been isolated in pockets and cut off from each other. To make sure that the crucial village of Hagaru, with its airstrip that could accommodate C-47 transport planes, held, Task Force Drysdale, made of Royal Marines, pushed north from Koto on the 29th of November. They were constantly harassed by the PVA 60th Division and suffered heavy casualties, but they managed to reach Hagaru and provided much needed reinforcements. Meanwhile, on the other side of North Korea, there was bad news for the UN troops. The UN 8th Army was decisively defeated by the PVA 13th Army and started their retreat. Advancing to the Chinese border and trying to outflank them was no longer an option, and MacArthur ordered a breakout and retreat. The Marines, who had thought the war would soon be over, were demoralised. This wasn't helped by the -30 to -40 degree weather, which was killing as many men as the fighting itself. General Smith, who was the commanding general of the 1st Marines, stated, "Retreat? Hell, we're not retreating, we're just advancing in a different direction." And so they did. After realising that the Marines were concentrated at Hungnam, the PVA spent a few days after the first assault blocking the path for their retreat, the Tokdong Pass. The Marines subsequently formed a convoy with a Sherman M4A3 at its lead. Despite the night attacks and cold weather, by a week after the first attacks on the 4th of December, the 5th and 7th Marine Regiments managed to push through the roadblock and retreat to Hagaru. On the eastern side of the reservoir, around the village of Hudong, elements of the Regimental Combat Team 31 were surrounded and were being hounded by the Chinese troops. Despite being under strength, they managed to deal heavy casualties on the attacking PVA troops with their M16 and M19 anti-aircraft guns. With the aid of napalm dropped by F4U Corsairs, they managed to retreat to Hagaru, though they suffered severe casualties. The commander of the US 10th Corps, General Almond, proposed to evacuate the troops by air once they arrived at Hagaru, leaving their equipment behind. Smith, commander of the 1st Marines, protested and suggested dropping in much needed fuel and ammunition to push back to the port of Hungnam, where they could retreat by sea with their heavy equipment. Those who were unfit to fight would be airlifted out. This plan would also draw Chinese attention away from the scattered elements of the US 10th Corps across northeast Korea and give them a much better chance of retreating south. Smith's plan was chosen, and the troops at Jangjin would march to the port of Hungnam. And so, on the 6th of December, the 1st Marine Division pushed south to Hungnam, with the 7th Marines at the front and the 5th at the rear. At the time, the PVA 26th Army had arrived with its fresh 76th and 77th Divisions. To prevent the breakout, the 76th and the 77th launched night attacks, but these were repulsed, dealing heavy casualties on the Chinese side. The Marines pushed through and reached Koto by the next day. Song ordered the battered remnants of the 20th Army to hold the Funchilin Pass and blow up the Treadway Bridge to block any further withdrawal, while the 26th and 27th Armies attacked from the rear. When the Marines pushed through to the crossing, 8 C-119 flying boxcars dropped in portable bridges. With the help of these bridges, the Marines proceeded on the 9th of December. The 58th and 60th Divisions were now completely exhausted, with only 200 soldiers left. They were unable to stop the UN withdrawal. All the UN forces had left the mountains by the 11th of December and reached the Hungnam perimeter by the evening. Neither side decisively won the engagement at the Chosin Reservoir. UN forces faced the further setback, having initially planned to push to the Chinese border, but they were now in a position where they would have to retreat from North Korea. The Chinese had a greater deal of success and caused a full retreat from Northeast Korea, but they failed to destroy the Marines despite outnumbering them, and also suffered around 2 to 3 times more casualties. The UN forces had proven that they could hold up in close combat against much greater odds. It also showed the importance of US superiority in air power and supplies. The US 10th Corps was supported by aircraft. They played a crucial role not only in providing close air support, but dropping in supplies and equipment such as portable bridges. In one incident, the 1st Marine Division called urgently for 60mm mortar shells by airdrop when they ran out of ammo, code word Tootsie Rolls. Instead, they were sent boxes of real chocolate Tootsie Rolls. Because the men were also fighting in the intense cold, these high-calorie treats were an unexpected lifesaver, and could also be warmed in the mouth, moulded and used to cover up bullet holes in vehicles, where the cold would freeze it again and it would become rock solid. Almost half of the forces committed to the battle were lost on both sides. The UN forces that managed to escape were dubbed the Chosen Few. However, the escape was far from over. The Chinese forces were coming down to Hungnam, and around 105,000 troops and 140 tons of cargo had to be evacuated. The area was also ravaged by the conflict, and so 200,000 refugees were desperate to join the evacuation. Another Herculean effort was needed to save the troops in North Korea and to sustain the fight for the Korean Peninsula.